Hey, Jess Melamed. I was just about to head out for a ride, but I know a lot of people have been asking for a bike check, so that's why I'm inside with the helmet on in my usual look. So it's the same thing as a troll breakdown, but this time we got a bike breakdown. So let's dive right in. This is the Rocky Mountain Bicycles SLAYER. I asked for one in this winter after borrowing one for the Transera Norte and just loved the bike, so I wanted to give it a shot. 29-inch wheels, 165 mils of travel. I'm running it right now in position 2. I found that full slack was a little bit too slack and low, and I was kind of too far back in the corners, and so I went up to position 2 after Remy mentioned that he was in that position, and just kind of gave me a little bit better overall bike feel, and I was more comfortable in the corners. I'm running a size medium. I am 170 centimeters tall, 5'7"-ish, 150-ish pounds. That gives you any indication. Probably around 37 pounds, but there's nothing I'd change. And so let's start from the front of the bike. We got race face Cockpit. Got a 32 mil stem because I've always just run really short stems, and I'm not sure. In the beginning, I think it was because I was trying to get myself farther back behind kind of the hits that I was getting. And then with newer bikes getting longer, I was like, well, I need to bring myself back because the reach is super long. So I've just kind of always been at a short stem, but I've been wanting to try a longer stem, but now that the bikes are so long, I'm not doing it. So we got a 32 mil Turbine R stem, running a Next R handlebar, 35 mil diameter, 35 mil rise. Cut those to 740 because I'm a small person and that is the width of my shoulders, so that's what I'm doing. We've got these 4-piston XTR brakes, which I was very lucky enough to test 3 years ago, I think, before they came out. These things with this little cross brace here are just amazing. The feel and the stiffness you get from the brake lever is just kind of unmatched, and it's really something that I really enjoy. Running 203 mil rotor, all that stopping power for the 29-inch wheels. I'm a small guy, but I do like that you can dial in your brake feel a little bit more, so like you have all the power there, and then you can kind of just have a lot of modulation up until that point. Shimano's got these sweet finned brake pads, which obviously do make a difference when you're doing a 20-minute stage and you think your brakes are going to start heating up and the pull's going to be different. I don't usually have that issue because what Shimano has done with all their Ice Tech stuff is obviously working. So my brakes are pretty consistent pretty much all the way down the stage, and that's very confidence inspiring. We got the 1UP EDC tool, of course. Race face love handle grips are my favorite race face grips. We've got beauty cable routing, thanks to Adam Trotter on this build. We've got Mudhugger Mudguard, which is sweet. Those guys have kind of hooked me up for a few years now, and definitely think it's one of the best working mudguards out there. Super simple, reliable, and just does its job properly. Got a super burned in tire and rim, which has still got the Canada 2. So those were my rims for the Trophy of Nations. So if you ever wonder if we just go through rims and just throw them out, well, it's not always the case because I've been on these rims for about half a year, and also those tires probably, which is why they need to be changed. If we go to the back again, this thing been using Trophy of Nations. This tire is also very burned in. And what are we running for burned out tires? This is a 2.4 DHR2 wide trail max grip. We put the DH casing on. That was for Trophy of Nations because it was super rocky there. But I do really like they have a 2.5 double down that's either out or coming out. And I like that for just a little bit more give in the back. We obviously have Cush core in there, which I will never ride without because I just like the way the corner feel is. It just kind of keeps that tire from rolling too much, so that when you're kind of hard into a corner, the tire isn't gonna roll out of the way. It's gonna keep those corner knobs right where you want them, so it's always consistent cornering, which I really like. But with that Cush core obviously and a DH casing, like it's definitely a pretty hard feel in the back, which is good when you want that stability and that support. But when I'm riding at home here, I can definitely feel that being a little bit harsh on the root, so I do prefer the double down feeling. It's kind of just got a softer, more pliable feel to it, and I kind of feel like I can float over things a little bit better, and the extra volume of the 2.5 is definitely super nice. In the past, I've always liked a really kind of fast rolling, but more so just consistent tire in the back. This DHR2, I find the braking is super good, the cornering traction is amazing. Those two things kind of put it above the rest of any of the tire for me. I really like Maxxis used to make, or they still make, a Griffin tire, which I thought was like the most consistent tire. I just really liked that I knew it was going to do it every time. I've run the DHF in the back previously because I like that the top, those center knobs have that kind of sipe in them, and it allows for like very, very slight cornering traction, which I found in like fast, long corners in a place like Chile, for instance. That tire was really good because you just had to lean the bike over a little bit and you had really good cornering traction around there. But for most places, I stick to this one because of the braking traction and the good cornering traction that comes with those side knobs. In the front, before the Assegai came about, I was obviously on the DHF, which again, it had that really good top cornering traction, and then you kind of lean into those side knobs and it had really good traction. Then the Assegai came out, just kind of too good to pass up. Like, yeah, of course it rolls a bit slow, but that means that there's a lot of knobs in contact with the ground at any one point. And that's the first thing I noticed, was that like anytime I'm in a corner and I'm like doing a nose pick, for instance, or I'm going fast and cornering, I'm going slow and up on a different angle, like there's always knobs on the ground, and I felt like I had front wheel traction. And so this tire I just really like, and I'm running that 2.5 double down wide trail max grip. And that's just been super sweet. I like the volume of that 2.5. I like the pliability of that double down. If it gets super rocky and fast, and I'm worried at all about flatting, I'll put a DH casing on, because they make a 2.5 DH casing tire, which is good. I think the cush core and that turning stability that I talked about is more important even in the front, because I find that, you know, when you're aggressively arcing into a corner, your tire's gonna want to stay on the ground, and your rim's gonna kind of be pushing it, so your tire's gonna roll out of the way. Whereas the cush core, it keeps everything super stiff and solid, and so that when you're turning around the corner, those knobs are just engaged at the whole time, and those might slip, but at least it's consistent and you know when that's gonna happen, and you can prepare for that. And so I feel like I'm much more in tune with the traction I can hold around a corner, and I'm not kind of guessing at when my tire is going to kind of roll or give out on any given bump. Been running the Raceface Turbine R alloy rims ever since we got on Raceface wheels. The first time I ever used them was in the Andes Pacifico 5-day stage race in Chile, and that was 2 winters ago, I guess. And I just kind of got sent these wheels, and I was nervous because, you know, you need to have a lot of confidence in your wheels, and I was really happy with the Stans wheels we had before. But I put these on for a week of Andes Pacifico, didn't touch them, won that race, and had no issues the whole week, and that was it. Like from then on, I was just kind of sold, and since then we pretty much had no issues, and they last a long time, as you can tell, because those have been on this bike or previous bike since Trophy of Nations in October. So that's kind of a long time for someone who likes to smash things, which is me. I have, of course, tried the carbon wheels. Those are really good if you have kind of really precise, not so rough trails. Like if you just really want good stiff cornering, and if you want a very precise and active feel, they're super sweet. But anywhere where you got really rough terrain off camber, and it's hard to hold the line, the alloys just have a little bit of give to them, where like you'll ping off something on your line, but like it won't ping you off. The wheel will kind of take that and keep your momentum going straight, whereas carbon kind of takes that and it kind of puts you offline a little bit. And if you can manage that and it's not happening too often, then that's great. For me, I just like in enduro, we don't always know where the line is. The line's always changing. We only get one practice run, so I just need to know that I can kind of mess up a line and not just be going off into the bushes. So the alloy allows me to do that. They're super strong. They're reliable. I've had no issues. We're on the Raceface Vault hubs too, which again, no issues. So that's been really sweet. And all of the parts that we have here is pretty much a dream build. I wouldn't do it any other way. And, you know, our team has had very few mechanicals over the last few years, as extra shifter, of course. So I'm running the small cassette, and my knees might not thank me for that on the steep climbs that we have here. I just prefer the shorter chain that you get with the smaller cassette, and less chain slap, less weight, so you have less sprung weight on the back of your bike. And I just kind of preferred the compact cassette, but there's been many times when I've wanted the 51 tooth on the back there, but I'm stubborn. So we got a 32 tooth chain ring with that new 10 tooth cog back here. I haven't really noticed that 3210 is spinning out anywhere on the trails. I need a little bit of a smaller ring to kind of deal with that 45 tooth out back, because I don't have that 51. 170 mil cranks. Got some sweet titanium crank rubber pedals on there. I'm sure you all want to know the settings of my suspension. I don't have it memorized, but it is, of course, on my phone. So, fork, as I said, 92 psi. High speed rebound, 5 clicks from closed. Low speed rebound, 5 clicks. High speed compression, 6. Low speed compression, 8. And the shock, Fox Float X2, 165 psi. Oh, and the fork has, I think, 2 volume spacers, but I kind of change those depending on the track. Float X2 is 2 volume spacers. High speed rebound is 12. Low speed rebound is 16. High speed compression 16. Low speed compression 12. The first thing that I noticed when switching to this fork was the cornering precision. It was super slight, and I didn't really understand what it was at first because you wouldn't expect that to be something that you can kind of feel, but I could just kind of feel on slower speed corners, just any movement that I would kind of do, the fork would track. And it kind of took me a little bit of time to get used to that because it was kind of weird and throwing me off a bit. But then as soon as I did, like, I just felt like I could make quicker direction changes. And I guess that's just down to the stiffness of the fork. I also noticed straight line braking traction. There was no flex or give, and like I could just hammer on the brakes and then slow down, and like it was just very precise. And I don't know of a different word that I can use than precise, where I was just kind of hard on the brakes and nothing. I didn't have this feeling of like, oh, I'm getting out of control. It was just like hard on the brakes, slow up, turn wherever you want to go. And those are the first two things that I noticed on this fork. Got these cool little bleeder valves, which you can hear a little bit of air coming out. But of course, Fox is really good at just upgrading that stuff every year, and this fork is just kind of buttery smooth and it just works really well, and it can kind of charge through anything. I've played around with the volume spaces a little bit because they have a larger negative air volume in this one, so I wanted more volume spaces to control the ramp up on this one, and then that means I could keep the top end really supple. As you can see, got the ride wrap on it, which is definitely super key. I'm running a very well worn in WTB Silverado seat with the custom Rocky Mountain maple syrup graphics. It's probably the first one I actually got onto. Been on WTB again for like since the inception, 6-7 years. And I don't know, probably used to ride with a chamois back then, but now like this seat is just super comfortable. My ass knows it very well, and I don't run a chamois anymore. And we're doing 7-hour days on the enduro bikes, so loving this seat. You gotta obviously find one that works for you. But for me, these Silverados, like these last on my bikes, I don't know, the whole season, nothing really goes wrong. There's obviously all these wear marks, which is probably corrosion from sweat, which is gross. We have titanium rails on that seat. I used to run carbon in the back because I was a weight weenie ex-seer. On this bike, because we ran out, I only have a 150 mil dropper Fox transfer post, but usually I have a 175 mil dropper post in there. Few little mods, and it kind of gets it slammed right down, and it's kind of perfect for my height. We got the 1-up dual colored top guide here. This top guide is super simple, super small. But I mean, I've been running this for 4-5 years, and I've dropped, I mean, of course things are gonna happen, like the perfect storm's gonna happen where a chain just kind of comes off, but it's been like less than a handful of times, so 2 or 3 times probably, which is pretty damn good. 1-up bash guard so that I can smash into anything that I want. Just kind of a little bit more peace of mind when you're going through rough stuff. I feel like I really like to build my bike so that there's no second thought. I can kind of ride it the way I want to ride, do the lines I want to do, and there's no hesitation or thinking that like, oh, like maybe something's gonna break or I'm gonna flat, and like that's why I run the Cush core. I run kind of the heavy wheels, bash guard, and like everything, like the 38. Everything I've kind of put on this bike is for that mindset of like nothing's gonna go wrong, and I can kind of do whatever I want to do. So what it comes down to is just me being confident in myself, and then that kind of worked out well for me. You may have seen this little thing tucked in here. Got a special super lightweight tube that I was finally able to fit in behind this rocker link, which I think is super trick, so it's there. And then more stupid things. I've got a tie lever taped into here where the recess is because it's an aluminum rear end. And then I also have a CO2 head on the other side. I was just kind of experimenting with different ways to store things on my bike over the winter because I didn't like the big bulge of a tube and stuff kind of just strapped to your bike. I think these bikes are pretty good looking, so I didn't want to strap things to it. I'm usually running a Stages dash up here. For right now, I just built this bike back up and I didn't put the mount on. We're running about, that is like 15 plus like a 2.5, so running a 17.5 mil rise plus the 35 mil rise bar. So that means that I do like my bars pretty high. There's a certain body position I like when I'm on my bike. I don't know, it's just where I'm comfortable, and when I'm comfortable I can kind of relax but also be focused, and I'm not too concerned with like holding myself in. The bike is all clean because I just did a full rebuild and changed the bearings in there because it had a winter of abuse. So I think that's about it. If you have any more questions about my bike setup, please ask me in the comments, and if there's anything more specific you'd like me to do, I'll do that. These tires obviously needs to be changed, so I'm going to do a video on how to change tires with Cushcore, and hopefully that video is not longer than 15 to 20 minutes because I don't want to spend that long doing it. So yeah, thanks for checking in, and we'll see you on the trails. Choo! If you like this bike as much as you like me, then like and subscribe for more content. Hopefully weekly, and we'll see how long I can keep that going.